trust him on a long roadie. Why do you suddenly trust him?
Well, here's the thing. I don't know that I can't fully trust him. But what I will say is this. Liam Cohen just doesn't have, like, the PR that some of the other young coaches have.
Right.
He's been excellent. He has been awesome. And as much as I love, and I do love Baker, Baker seems to miss him in a way he didn't miss Dave Canales. And so Liam Cohen, maybe because the Duvall thing was goofy, maybe because on camera he doesn't really cut the same profile as Ben Johnson or D'Amico Ryans or some of the other young coaches everybody likes, he wasn't taken as seriously. And then there's Trevor, who, here would be my argument about what has changed with Trevor Lawrence. I do not think his highlight throws this year are any different than any of the last 4 years. I think since Trevor's second year in the league, if you cut up his 20 best throws of the season, that they would stack up next to just about any of the all-pro quarterbacks. What Trevor's problem had been was his 20 worst plays of the season
are brutal.
Looked like the worst plays you've ever seen.
Right.
It was just dropping the ball, red zone picks, terrible. And the last month, he has kept the highlight throws and cut out the other stuff. They are during this run, Colin, they are beating teams by an average of 18.8 points per victory.
Yeah.
That is, last year, they scored 18.8 points per game. It has been a transformation. And listen, they are alive for the 1 seed. They are huge favorites to win the division. And they feel a little dangerous. And they do have a bit of a nobody believes in us, since the whole media and your guy Sean Payton all made fun of Jacksonville for no reason. That's a fine American town.
Yeah. Jacksonville Jaguars have not given up on you. Still got these videos where they are so boom or bust, where the videos actually do pretty well and the views are pretty good, or we got a few hundred. I'm not giving up. I've been making Jags videos now, you know, daily, essentially, regularly. I am not giving up. Please do not forget to watch the full length of the video. Please do not forget to subscribe while watching this very video, because when you do that, views go through the roof, subscribers go through the roof, so I can keep making the best possible Jacksonville Jaguars content that I can. It's not about chasing views. It's not about chasing subscribers. Of course I want the views. Of course I want the subscribers. But it's about being able to make videos that people genuinely want to watch, that they want to interact with. So I can make unbiased, grounded Jacksonville Jaguars content, so we can have real conversations and be firmly rooted in this sports talk world. Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jacksonville Jaguars. Someone made fun of me because how I pronounce Jaguars. And it's like, bro, it's an accent. Get over it. But of course it's time to take them seriously. I already threw what Nick said before about, like, you know, his ceiling hasn't really changed that much for Trevor. And of course it has. Like, I think that's such a ridiculous statement completely. And so I'm not going to go on that whole rant, but you know, I've been trying to boost up Liam Cohen. I'm the one that's, like you said, like, oh, you know, Baker didn't miss Canales as much, you know, as much as he misses, like, a Liam. And it's like, that's because Liam Cohen was there to take over. That's the difference. Like, Liam Cohen is an awesome coach. And you want to know why he doesn't have as much of that popularity? Because he's seemingly a pretty nice guy, and he smiles, and he's not like Mr. Tough Guy and tries to prove everyone that he's the alpha and that, you know, he will glare and skull at people. It's just like, now he just seems like a pretty good dude, and he's in Jacksonville, which is just not the spiciest town around. And so it's just like, yeah, it just is what it is. Wouldn't lose too much sleep over it. Also, you know, they don't get a lot of the media attention because the Jacksonville Jaguars aren't that popular. It's why someone like me has to be like, Jags, please watch the videos, right? Like, that's literally why. I mean, Wild said it best, and I'm really happy he admitted it and said it out loud. And Colin did the same thing years ago where he's like, Colin said, why do I talk about the Dallas Cowboys so much? He's like, because they're the most popular team in the NFL. That's why. He goes, why do I talk about the NFL more than any other sport? Because it's the most popular sport. That's why he's like, I'm going to talk about what's popular. That's what it is. And Wilds talked about last year when the Texans played the Chiefs. He said, if the Chiefs lose and the Texans win, it's terrible for our show. It's terrible for our show from a rating standpoint. And it's true. It's true. If the whole NFL was filled with nothing but Jacksonville Jaguars, like, it would be struggling. And so you're not going to get preferential media. And that's why, again, that's why I'm pushing so hard to be like, please watch the videos, please subscribe, because I just want to talk about the Jags and not have to be, at the mercy of the popular teams. It's just for real. I want to be able to just talk about any other team that I want. And that's why it's like, listen, I'm like, when I made that, you posted the one video yesterday, and I think as of right now, it's got like 389 views or something, which is like literally nothing. I post a 49ers video and it's got like, what is it, like 15,000 views. And like I said, it's not about chasing the views, but it's like, I want to post something that people want to watch and want to discuss. The 149ers video has like 10,000+ views and 100 comments. And the Jacksonville Jaguars video has 29 comments, and I'm sure a third of those comments are me, replying to people. This is not me now trying to be like, subscribe again, but that's why you get this effect. That's why you get this effect. And when you don't have people, when you have people in the media who feel that energy from the fan bases, they're going to feed into it, in any direction, whether it's to bashing a team or trolling a team or celebrating and praising a team. And, if you're on TV and you have a very limited window of time, you're on First Things First, The Herd, NFL Live, Get Up or something, and, you're on a segment for 5 minutes and you're at the table of Get Up or something, right? And you're only there for, for the entire show. You're only on that show for about 8 minutes or something. You're probably not going to waste a lot of time talking about the Jacksonville Jaguars. And if you only have 8 minutes, you're going to be like, the Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen can win the Super Bowl. And the Bills fans going to be like, yeah, let's go. And like, there's just not enough ump there for the Jags. There's just not. So you will get overlooked. You will get downplayed because it's also just a really easy take to have. And there's no real gain. If I come out here, and this is what Nick did last year, if I came out last year and said, I believe the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to win the Super Bowl, if I just did it this year with Liam Cohen, where I said, Liam Cohen, coming over to Trevor, this team is going to be the best version we've ever seen. Travis Hunter, Trevor, Liam, etc., they're going to win the Super Bowl. It would be a literal fart in the wind. You'd be like, what was that? What was that? Was that thunder? What is that? I don't know. Who cares, man? Go back to bed. But when Nick comes out and says that Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears are going to go to the Super Bowl, it was like earth-shattering. It was like, this is insane. They're going to win. They're going to get to the Super Bowl. Oh my God, Caleb Williams, MVP. And the momentum was through the roof. Through the roof. I made a video talking about how I think Liam Cohen is going to transform this Jags team and that Trevor Lawrence is going to be the best version of himself. And I said that Baker Mayfield was going to take a step back, and I went through all the data about, what Liam is going to bring to Trevor, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Like, it was my version of Trevor, and, the Jags are going to get to the Super Bowl. I wasn't, I don't chase those types of stories, but, like, it was my version of that. It's like 400, it gets 400 views because it's just like, nobody cares. Nobody cares. And the Jags were actually one of the first teams. The Jags and the Dolphins, ironically, were one of the first teams that when I was making videos that I realized, oh, like, some of these teams just end up being duds. Like, no wonder why First Things First, they're heard, like, talk about the Bills, the Ravens, the Eagles, and the Chiefs, like, again and again and again and again, because it's like, people want to talk about those teams. People watch those teams. Even, not only are those fan bases huge, but then even the more general casual fans, like, they just care more about what's going on with those teams rather than a team like the Jags. And it was like, oh, like this is interesting. And you're just maybe like, oh, maybe it was just like a one-off situation, or like this is a pretty big story. Trevor gets injured, or, you know, whatever it is. And you're like, oh, people still don't care. And it's a tough situation. I do feel bad for the smaller market teams where you watch shows like this and like your team's just not discussed, and you're just like, oh, well, that's a bummer. You know, because you obviously love football, you're obviously a fan, and you're obviously still watching the shows, and you care enough about the other teams and just the NFL at large. But like, you still want to see your team talked about. You still want to see them discussed. And then the problem is that you're not actually getting like real, even grounded conversations around them, because it's like, I don't know, are people really watching that Jags-Texans game as close as they would say? Even a Chiefs-Raiders game where no, the Raiders are going to get blown out. I mean, I can guarantee you more people are locked into the Chiefs-Raiders game than a Jags-Texans game, you know? So then you're not even really getting like high quality, unfiltered, you know, grounded analysis of the very team that you're hoping to get, you know, conversations around. And that's why I really appreciate what I saw out of none other than Kurt Warner. Talk about a team that pushes the ball down the field. The Jacksonville and Denver game, you know, which was obviously a big game. And, you know, Trevor Lawrence just continues to play good football. I mean, talk about a team that pushes the ball down the field. I mean, I showed it a little yesterday on game day morning, but this isn't a dink and dunk team by any means. This is not a team that's just going to throw the ball at the line of scrimmage. They are going to threaten you down the field. You know, Brian Thomas, who was struggling early in the year, has kind of come into its own. Jacoby Myers, which I think was an unbelievable pickup for them. You know, that the trade with Las Vegas has paid huge dividends. Travis Etienne has got a spring back in his step where he did early in his career, and then, you know, kind of lagged for a while. And man, he's back doing some things. I mean, they are playing really good football, and Trevor just seems to be locked in terms of what they're asking him to do and getting to the right guy and playing on schedule. And, you know, all those plays that we've talked about numerous times with Trevor, where you go into games and there's 5 or 6 plays that you just kind of shake your head and you can't figure out, you know, how that happened or how he missed that or why he made that decision. You're not making those right now. And they went into Denver and really just beat down this really good Broncos defense. They had no answer. It's fun to watch them right now. And the more I watch them, the more I think, man, this is a team that could contend in the AFC because they're playing really good on defense. They good run defense. They don't give up a lot of big plays, and then they got a lot of playmakers on offense. Yep. And the one thing you should know about Kurt Warner is that he's married to the tape. He is not someone that just kind of casually makes converse, you know, comments on teams and commentary. Like he the way how he's become in the NFL as, you know, a sports talk guy. Obviously, he's a great quarterback and all of that. But like what he's become is not someone who just is like, yeah, I have a secondary career talking sports, talking football, and kind of just shooting from the hip and being like, this team, it looks hot right now. Who can stop them? Like, he is very much like, I'm only going to comment based on what I see on the film. He's essentially like an actual quarterback version of Gay Cole, where he's like, I'm just here to explain what I see and you know, and have it all based on the foundation of the fact of like, I was a pretty good quarterback in my day. I kind of know a thing or two, you know, and he's just, he doesn't really make things up. He just really kind of relays what he sees through his, you know, his expertise. And so it's something that you can take to the bank, man. It's something that you can really trust and have a lot of confidence around. So I just think it's just a great time for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And, you know, I mean, it's, yeah, I mean, the Broncos win was a great win, but it's also time to put that game away now, right? Put that behind you and just kind of move forward, right? And continue that momentum, and then start to also try to factor in kind of like, all right, like we're in the playoffs. We're in the spot now where we can do damage, and we like ourselves against any team. some of these other teams, you can kind of be like, well, do you want to face this defense? I don't know, your O-line, the run game. Your defense against their rushing off, like, and it's like all these things, like, I don't know this, that, and the third. I don't think the Jags are in that position where they're really looking at any team where they're kind of like, well, we really want to make sure we get to 2 seed so we can avoid this team or that or that. I don't think that at all. You know, the closest you get to that is like maybe you want to avoid having to go on the road against a cold weather team or something, right? Like having to play like in a snowstorm in Buffalo or something, because that, I mean, that's always a coin flip, right? That's always like, I don't know how, you know, like how do you guess how that game will unfold? But I mean, outside of something like that, it's just, you know, there's not much gaming this Jacksonville Jaguars team needs to do. And the only thing is like just needing to, you know, to be consistent, right? To be consistently consistent. And that is what Liam Cohen has brought to the table here. That is what he's brought with this team, is a level of consistency and floor raising, and ceiling raising at the same time. It's just been an absolute masterful job from Liam Cohen in this team here. And, you know, it's just been a really great thing to watch. And the Jags now are going to be, you know, I always have, you know, teams that I kind of keep going to from like a reference point of like, I'll reference the Rams and the Eagles for that matter. 2 teams that won a Super Bowl, and both years they won a Super Bowl. There were concrete moves that they made, right? I was like, I always point out, like, they got OBJ in the middle of the season for the Rams and Von Miller and like that. And Von was a huge move that ultimately led to a Super Bowl, and it was needed. You needed OBJ, you needed Von Miller, directly led to a Super Bowl. And that's like, if I'm calling out another team like the Bills, like, what moves are you making? What move did you make that to get you over the hump? What is it? The Eagles. It's like you went out, you were unhappy with your coaches, so you went out and hired 2 new coordinators. Fangio, Kellen Moore, you got Saquon Barkley, you got Bond, you got CJ Garner, John. Like, you made concrete moves that directly led to a Super Bowl. And like, those are 2 teams that I'll like reference for that type of, you know, comparison. And of course we're referencing like a quarterback that maybe it takes time to grow and need a better coach. It's like, I'll use Sam Darnold, which, like, you know, is kind of the easy quarterback to reference now. And right now with the Jags, it's like perfect example of why things sometimes just take time. Trevor Lawrence and Liam Cohen, you know, shows the importance of like, hey, like, that's another reference point of like coaching matters, coaching matters, coaching matters. But also kind of like, hey, you know what, especially when you're bringing in a new coach, and you don't have this long established 3, 4, 5 year stretch of time together, that like sometimes things take time. Sometimes things take time. This Jaguars team was clearly not playing their best. And it's actually funny because I was really unhappy with how the Jags played throughout the beginning of the season. And someone kind of tried to say something to me about it, where they were just like, you were saying, you didn't really like the Jags. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I was like, and this is from someone who believed the Jags were going to be great this season. And I was annoyed even though they're winning. And then I saw the clip from Liam Cohen after, I think it was a win against the Kansas City Chiefs. And he's like, boy, we don't do a lot of things that look pretty, but like, you know, hey, we're winning. And he's admitting like, man, we're not playing as great as we need to, right? Like, the things that we're doing, we're clearly not doing it at the best level right now, but like, we're still coming away with wins. And like, that's his version of saying, guys, we got to be better. Like, we're pulling it off. Let's keep the energy going. Let's keep the focus going, but we got work to do. And I think he really sticks the landing there. You know, I really do. Liam Cohen is exactly the type of coach that I would absolutely positively love to play for. I would not do well with a Ben Johnson. I would not, you know, I am someone that would gravitate towards more like a more Liam Cohen. That is a type that is a style of coach, a coach that is, you know, obviously incredibly smart, willing to push you, but not in a hyper-aggressive, dismissive way. And someone that clearly creates a really supportive environment, can keep the momentum going forward even when there's still more room to grow. And I think it fits Jacksonville so perfectly and fits Trevor Lawrence so perfectly that it's just, even if this season doesn't go exactly according to plan, even if this team takes a turn, because not every team can win the Super Bowl, obviously. The future for me, from my viewpoint with this team, is just through the roof. I mean, it really, really is. If they don't pull off the Super Bowl, which again, the odds are against them, the odds are technically against every single team to win the Super Bowl, right? Like, it's just the way it works. It will just all come down to just rounding out rounding out the roster. You round out the roster, make a few key moves here and there, hit on a draft picker here, and it's just like you're setting this team up to being like a legitimate, bona fide, perennial Super Bowl contender year after year after year. Like, we've seen the Bills, the Ravens, the Bengals when Joe Burrow is healthy, the Eagles, the Rams, the 49ers, over the last like 5, 6, 7, 8 years, like the usual suspects. The Jags can truly find themselves entering that discussion. And it's like, what more could you possibly ask for? You can't. There's nothing more you could possibly ask for. You can, as a fan, all you can ask for is just a chance. And you built that, and it's only year one. Like, that's the extraordinary thing. It's only year one. Those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think? Jacksonville Jaguars fans, how you feeling? Do you think it's time to take the Jags as serious contenders? And how do you feel about the coverage about the Jags and just kind of the things that are being discussed, or the lack thereof, about the Jaguars? The Jaguars. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single comment. So, whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get into some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. As I said, we are building an amazing community here, and I really would love to see you part of it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.